Did the Yankees just get figured out? The Yankees went into Boston looking to ride the high, coming off of a series win against a very good Kansas City side. Let's be honest, they got punched in the mouth. What's going on, guys? It's the King of 161st Street. I'm back in another video, and this series, in a lot of ways, exposed a lot of holes that the Yankees could have moving forward. Now, this video, I am going to be answering the question, are the Yankees cooked? There's a lot of talk online about how all of a sudden this is a fraudulent team, has gotten success off of beating mediocre teams, and now they're starting to get figured out. Let's go over a few things. One, no pitcher that we had starting in this series had their A game. Luis Gil was first. He had the best stuff out of the three, only giving up one run through around 5 innings, but he was wild. He could not locate his four-seam fastball. If he was able to locate his four-seam fastball 50% more, he would have been able to get through 7. Only allowed 1 run. He got out of some crucial jams. Still, not a stellar performance from a guy who's competing for the Cy Young. Then you go to the next day with Carlos Rodon. Carlos Rodon could not locate his slider to save his life. Every slider he put out there was getting smacked for a double. He could not locate that, especially when he got to 2 strikes. When he gets to 2 strikes, he would go up against a righty. All of a sudden, he has to throw a slider, and the slider would go start outside, and it would end up right in the middle of the plate. To guys like Jarren Duran, a guy who has had a resurgence year. Guys like Rafi Devers. You don't do that to Devers. Ceddanne Rafaela, another guy, big year for him. He had a pretty shitty outing, if I'm going to be honest. And then, arguably the worst of them all was none other than Marcus Stroman. Was just very erratic in this game. At times, he was able to locate off the corners. At times, he was not. He was walking batters. He gave up timely hits. Ended up giving up 5 runs in this game. Ultimately, it became the difference. Overall, no pitcher in this series had their A stuff. Carlos Rodon and Marcus Stroman had one of their 10 games where they just don't have anything today. There's always that saying, you have 10 games where you're locked in and everything's working. You have 10 games where nothing's working and you're gonna get shelled. And then 10 games where you don't have your A+ stuff. Those 10 games determine your season. Carlos Rodon and Marcus Stroman had the bad point of those 10 games. And Luis Gil really had that middle 10. The 10 that defines your season, he had that. For Luis Gil's sake, that game, only giving up 1 run through 5, has now elevated him to number 1 in the league in ERA as Tariq Skubal got shelled against Houston. So it's helping his Cy Young case. Overall, the pitching was not great. Now let's get to the bats. Aaron Judge put on a showcase. Juan Soto put on a show. You had Alex Verdugo, who had the first game where he was lights out, giving us 4 RBIs. But overall, that last game really hurt. Down 4-3, you have the bases loaded, nobody out, with a 3-0 count. They said on the broadcast, it's only the 5th time in MLB history a team that has the bases loaded, no outs, and a 3-2 count, 7th inning or later, very specific, but hear me out. The 5th time in MLB history that a team has scored 0 runs. And you know whose fault this is entirely on? Gleyber Torres. Gleyber, you had a 3-0 count. I get you taking on 3-0. You obviously don't have the green light there. But on 3-1, you have to be ready for that cutter. That cutter that ended up middle out, you have to slap that to right field. You have to try and force Boston to make a play. He takes that pitch, then strikes out on a nasty slider that he put himself in position to get. Once he gets out, then you have Jose Trevino coming up, and it just doesn't work out. Just doesn't work. We get out of that inning with no runs, and Boston just runs away with it from there. Overall, not a great offensive showing. We didn't have our second hit until Jose Trevino's home run in the 6th inning. So offense was definitely off in this series. I don't think that's going to be a consistent trend. Now, what I do think is troublesome from this series, Marcus Stroman is very slow to the plate. We saw this all night. I'm now stating the obvious. Jose Trevino has a weak arm, probably the weakest arm in baseball in terms of catcher. The Boston Red Sox had a franchise record 10 stolen bases on that duo. Well, overall they had 10. They had about 7 on the duo of Stroman and Trevino. A few that were very costly. Let's talk about this for a second. When you have Dominic Smith stealing with first and third 2 outs, you throw that. Dominic Smith wanted to get into a rundown. You let Dominic Smith get himself out in that rundown. I don't understand what Jose Trevino's doing. In that situation, you throw the ball. It's a little ridiculous to me because yes, they're trying this cheeky play with first and third. Everyone knows it. You send the guy at first to go to second. Then when he throws it down, speedy guy on third, darts home. Dominic Smith really fucked up on this play because if he was really trying to get himself in a rundown, he would have stopped halfway through the baseline so that when he throws it down to second, he would have had to run. Where Dominic Smith stopped, all Glaber had to do was run up to him, bop, inning over. There was no time for man on third to get there. Yet Jose Trevino holds the ball and then that gives up 2 runs. That's 2 runs that we could have avoided. I'm a big believer in momentum. Right there, if we were able to maintain momentum in that moment, the offense could have been jolted. Instead, it turns into 2 runs. Anyways, that's a problem. I have noticed this year, our catchers have not been great at throwing people out. I just thought it might have been a coincidence in my head that every time I thought about it, it happened, but statistically, we're not good at catching base runners. Austin Wells to me is not good either, but Jose Trevino having the weakest arm in baseball is a concern because he's going to be getting heavy play time come October. His defense behind the plate is getting him play time in the postseason. If he can't throw batters out, that may be the one thing that other teams catch up on. If your guy has even an inkling of speed, let's say close to a guy like Alex Verdugo speed, right? If he has that level of speed, even Juan Soto's speed, if he has that level of speed, just keep going. Get out of double plays, make shit happen on the base paths. Jose Trevino is not going to throw you out. That is a major issue, and I don't know how you address that. Other than that, I did not see anything in this series that we didn't already know. We knew that Gleyber Torres was a problem for a little bit. We thought he was starting to creep up. A lot of people have now looked at this after that game and said this is the last straw. Striking out in that situation is unacceptable. Unacceptable. We knew Anthony Rizzo has been a problem for months and even probably a whole year by now. He's been a problem. And now he's out with a lower arm injury because of a weird play on the base pad. First of all, let's talk about this. On that play, the pitcher made a weird play there. So he was like barely on the bag when he tried catching the ball. When he drops the ball, for some reason, he plants himself further onto the base. What is he doing there? Is he trying to get in Rizzo's way? That looked a little dirty in my opinion. But I'm going to keep that opinion close to the chest because I truly don't know what he meant there. No one from the Yankees dugout had much concern about it. It just looked weird. Why would you plant yourself more on the base when the ball's behind you? Anyways, now we're possibly down a first baseman. They're going to have MRIs tomorrow. We have a day off on Monday. We're going to have results before our next game. We'll see what happens from that. But we knew Rizzo was a problem. Volpe was able to do what he does best, poke the ball to right field. You saw the power from Aaron Judge. You saw the power from Juan Soto in this series. I truly think that, look, is this series a wake-up call? Yes. This is a wake-up call that we are not all invincible. No team in baseball is the holy grail invincible team. There's not one team in baseball like that. You are going to have bad series like this. It's all about how you come back from it. This is the Yankees moment because we are going into probably the most important series of the season so far, going up against Baltimore on Tuesday. we've got some of our heavy hitters coming out to pitch in those games. Nestor Cortez gets game 1. It is to be determined who pitches in game 2. Now this is an interesting point because Garrett Cole seems like he will be ready for this Baltimore series. Where would you put him? You would, if you wanted to time it up for the 5 days, you would put him in Luis Gil's spot. Maybe he steps in that to be determined area. Who knows? We don't know who's pitching game 2, and Luis Gil is scheduled at the moment to be pitching on Thursday. So we've got some heavy hitters pitching against this Baltimore team. Hopefully we have a more locked in lineup. Who would be playing first if Rizzo's out? They would most likely at the moment plug in Oswaldo at third, bring in LeMahieu at first, and play it like that. Maybe they look elsewhere in the minor leagues. Probably not, because Ben Rice just got called up to AAA. We don't know whether he's going to have success or if he's going to struggle out the gates in AAA. Most likely it will be kept in-house with this first base spot. But maybe this gives the offense a jolt because of how bad Rizzo has been since the month of May. This may be an offensive jolt. Even defensively, this could be a jolt because Anthony Rizzo has made some stupid plays. He even had a play in game 2 that was absolutely crazy. He didn't charge in on the ball and then tried to flick it and he was safe. What are you doing? Anthony Rizzo used to be a defensive guy. He used to be a guy who was penciled in for Gold Glove. Part of the reason why when he would struggle offensively, people would still have his back because it's like, oh, well, when he struggles offensively, other than Luke Voit, Anthony Rizzo actually plays a really good first base. We're not even seeing that anymore. That's a big concern. So hopefully having Anthony Rizzo take some time off, maybe it's exactly what he needs to get his mind together. Maybe it's what the Yankees offense needs because Oswaldo gets a hit in this game. Maybe Oswaldo's an offensive jolt to pair with a guy like DJ LeMahieu. Hopefully the pitching gets back to normal as they should, and hopefully this wake-up call is answered by the New York Yankees because that's exactly what this series was. Is this team officially done? No. Did this series expose some holes that have to be patched? Yes. Hopefully the Yankees answer the alarm clock because it's time to wake up. Anyways, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like down below. If you're new here, hit that sub button. I'll be back at the end of this series. Hopefully I come back with better news than this series. I'll see you guys in that video. Take care and peace.